Welcome to Assessment of Learning. This is PBLB, created by Amber Greenfield, Ebony Glover, Jenna Fallis, and Kaylee Rowden. Hello class. Today we will be discussing your final assignment for the course. Your final assignment is to create 4 assessments for a course of your choosing within adult education. 2 assessments must be summative and the other 2 must be formative. You are not restricted on the types of assessment you choose as long as you discuss why you chose that assessment. You are required to create rubrics if they are applicable to the type of assessment you chose. For example, you should be creating a rubric if you chose an essay, reflective paper, or any type of writing piece. Something that would not require a rubric would be for a test or a quiz. However, you should discuss how students will be marked. For example, if it is multiple choice, short answer, etc. When looking at your assessments for your course, I want to know how each one you chose is a sound assessment. To refresh your minds, as explained in the reading from the CSHE, there are 3 objectives for higher education assessment. The first is that assessment guides and encourages effective approaches to learning. The second is assessment that validly and reliably measures expected learning outcomes, in particular to the higher order learning that characterizes higher education. And finally, assessment and grading that defines and protects academic standards. When making your assessments, I want you to justify how each assessment is sound based on what we have discussed in class. I also need to understand how the student is learning in your course. How do the assessments you have chosen show the student's understanding of the course? It is important to ensure that the assessments you create are meaningful when showing students' knowledge and understanding. For example, if you only use tests and quizzes in a course, do you really know what your students understand on the test? As we learned in this class, students value unambiguous expectations, authentic tasks, and choice and flexibility. Are the assessments you are creating unambiguous, authentic, and offer choice or flexibility? It is important to consider as you want your students to value the assessment methods that will be completed throughout the course. Another important component to look at when creating your assessments are reliability and validity. Throughout the course, we have discussed the importance of validity and reliability, but just to recap, I will summarize each. Validity, as stated by Valant 2006, refers to the accuracy of the inferences generated from the results of an assessment measure. So when you're creating your assessments, you need to think about if the assessment methods you have created measure what it is intended to. Some factors that may impact the validity of assessment are the alignment between curriculum and assessment, teaching and assessment relationship, relevance, ambiguity, clues, bias, inappropriate difficulty, clarity of instructions, too few of tasks, and administration of assessment. When looking at reliability as stated by Valant 2006, it refers to the assessment score, not the measure from which the score is generated. This means that reliability looks at whether the assessment results are consistent and stable. Of course, nothing will be 100% reliable, but when creating your assessments, try to make it so the students will clearly understand what they will be evaluated on. The last component I would like to discuss in your assignment is if your assessments are authentic or traditional. As we have learned throughout this course, authentic assessment occurs when we directly examine student performance on worthy intellectual tasks. Traditional assessments rely on indirect or proxy items. These assessments are efficient and simplistic. In education, authentic assessment is always best. However, we understand that there are limitations and sometimes traditional assessments must be done. A blend of the 2 types is fine for this assignment. However, I do not only want traditional assessments to be used. For this assignment, you will be marked on the following: creativity, professionalism, spelling and grammar, explanation of assessment choices, and research. The purpose of this assessment is to show me as an educator that you as a learner can describe the goals of assessment and related principles of sound assessment, apply principles of sound assessment to adult educational and online contexts, and select, create, and justify which assessment methods are best suited to particular adult education learning goals and teaching strategies. As you may have noticed, these are some of the learning outcomes for this course. This assignment has been created for you to show me what learning outcomes you have developed. To review what is expected of this assignment, you're creating a total of 4 assessments, where 2 assessments will be summative, which is the assessment that happens at the end of a course or unit, and the other 2 will be formative, which is ongoing throughout the course or unit. You must discuss why each assessment method is chosen and create rubrics where needed. When creating assessments, remember to consider sound assessment, the important elements of assessment, the reliability and validity of each assessment, an authentic assessment versus traditional assessment. Good luck in creating your final assignment, and feel free to email me with any questions that you may have.